Okay, next topic is generation and conduction of nerve impulse. In our body, in the nervous system, we have CNS, central nervous system, PNS, peripheral nervous system, and ANS, autonomous nervous system. In the CNS, we have brain and spinal cord. In the PNS, we have nerves that are emerging from the cranium, so are called cranial nerves, and the nerves emerging from the spinal cord are called spinal nerves. So cranial nerves and spinal nerves both are with 12 pairs and 31 pairs. Totally in our body 43 pairs of nerves are present. So along with the length of the nerve or nerve fiber, the information passing from the sense organs to the brain or brain to the organs, sensory nerves, motor nerves or mixed nerves. The information passing from the sense organs to the brain all are called sensory nerves, and the information from the brain to the parts, body parts, those are called motor nerves. But in the spinal cord, both sensory and motor nerves are mixed, so all the spinal nerves are called mixed nerves. In this topic, we are going to discuss what is the meaning of generation of nerve impulse and also what is the meaning of conduction of nerve impulse. For this, you have to know about the neurons. Already we discussed about the neuron structure. Every neuron has a cell body, long axon and dendrites. Cell body is a place where the neurotransmitter chemicals are synthesized, prepared and sent through the length of the axon, and at the axon terminal they are released into the synapse. From the synapse they enters into the postsynaptic area. So from that once again they travel so long distance. So like that every neuron has three parts: cell body, axon and axon terminal. So in the generation of nerve impulse, what is meaning of nerve impulse? The information whatever it is present in the nerves, that is called information. That information is in the form of electrical signals. That signals we are calling it as a nerve impulse. Look here, the signal that travels along the length of a nerve fiber and ends in the release of a neurotransmitter is called a nerve impulse. Here the sentence is vague, it's not understanding. So here the signal means the information. Suppose an ant is present on the skin, it is moving, and if the ant bites on the skin, that biting information is in the form of signals. So that signal travels along the length of the nerve fiber. What is here nerve fiber? Nerve fiber is nothing but the axon present in the neurons. Cell body, axon, axon terminal. So here the portion here it is called axon. Now we are calling it as a nerve fiber. This is the nerve fiber we are seeing here. So here what is happening? The information is passing. The information is passing from the cell body, to the axon terminal. Okay, the information is in the form of signals, and the information is passing here in the form of chemicals, also in the form of chemicals. Those chemicals are called neurotransmitters. Okay, these neurotransmitters run along the length of the axon, enters into the axon terminal here, and here another axon terminal is present here. The space is called synapse. This chemical backs the chemical bags which are present inside the axon in the form of signals. They reach the axon terminal here. They reach the axon terminal and they release in the synapse area. This is called postsynaptic region. Postsynaptic region. These chemicals go and touch here. When this neurotransmitter from that synapse enters and touching the postsynaptic region, there are ligand gated channels of ligand gated channels are present. These ligand gated channels are open and then that information passes to the next neuron. So like that, information is in the form of signals and in the form of chemicals. Those chemicals are called neurotransmitters. They are like present in the small bags. Those neurotransmitters are prepared in the cell body. The best neurotransmitter is acetylcholine. This neurotransmitter from the cell body enters into cytoplasm in the form of signals and reaches the axon terminal. Then they release that chemical neurotransmitter into the synapse region. Then they travel and touches the postsynaptic region. When they are touching the postsynaptic region, the ligand gates are open and then they conduct the information to the other part, so on. They reach the brain, and from the brain, that's the information what we have to do. That information enters into the motor nerves, and that motor nerves coming near to the effective organ, and we are doing the work. So this is called generation and conduction of nerve impulse. Introduction. To better understand this topic, you have to know some of the concepts. So those concepts are channels, ion leakage channels, ion gated channels, ligand gated channels, sodium potassium pump. So all we have to learn. So first one is the leakage channel. These leakage channels, just now I told you, on the, suppose this is the neuron axon. So on this axon there are some channels are present. This is the axon. On the axon some gates are present. These gates are sodium potassium leakage channels. Okay, so sodium and potassium leakage channels are present. So here this is the sodium channel, this is potassium channel, this is potassium channel. Along the length there are more potassium channels, but there are somewhere less potassium channels are there, sodium channels are there. So sodium channels are less in number, whereas the potassium channels are more in number. So that is why sodium movement is less, but potassium movement is very much high. So this type of leakage is present on the length of the axolemma and the membrane of the axon. So these are called sodium potassium leakage channels. On a axolemma, along with the sodium potassium leakage channels, there are sodium voltage gated channels. Okay, here one is active, another one is inactive. So in the sodium voltage gated channels, active sodium voltage gated channels and inactive sodium voltage gated channels both are present, whereas in the potassium here, potassium voltage gated channels only activated potassium gated voltage gated channels are present. So in the sodium there are two types are there. One is active voltage gated channels and second one is inactive sodium voltage gated channels. Lastly, another type also present on the, this is the synapse, this is the postsynaptic region. So here also some of the gates are present, and these gates are called ligand gated channels. So whenever the neurotransmitter releases in the synapses by the neurotransmitter, when they are touching, then they are opening the gates. Those are called neurotransmitter, that is also called ligand gated channels. Look here, ligand gated channels, they are located in the postsynaptic membrane. Dendrites are also cell bodies and open or close in response to the chemical stimuli. That chemical we are calling it as a neurotransmitter. Lastly, voltage gated channels, basing on the voltage membrane potential. So outside positive, inside negative charge is present. So these channels open in response to the change in the membrane potential. There are sodium voltage gated channels and potassium voltage gated channels are present. Sodium voltage gated channels are two types. They are sodium activation and sodium inactivation voltage gates, whereas in the potassium only one gate is there, and it's called voltage gated channels, has only one activation gate. There is no inactivation of potassium gate in the voltage gated channels. So this is the basic information you have to know before going to the conduction generation of a nerve impulse. One is leakage channels, sodium and potassium. Sodium is less, potassium is more. Ligand gated channels, after the synapse in the postsynaptic region they are present, and voltage gated channels, they are present along the length of the axon. Basing on the positive and negative charge, they are open. There are two types are there: sodium voltage gated channels, and second one potassium voltage gated channels. Sodium voltage gates also two types are there. One is sodium activation gates and sodium inactivation gates, whereas the potassium, there are only activation gates are present. So along the length of the axolemma. So now tell me, on the axolemma what are present? What are present on the axolemma? One, leakage channels are present, sodium activation gates are present, sodium inactivation gates are present, and the postsynaptic region there are ligand gated channels are present. So these are the sodium potassium pumps are there. They are pumping the sodium and the potassium inside to outside, outside to inside along the length of the axon. So these are information you have to know, basic information, to know further information about how a nerve impulse is going on towards the brain and coming from the brain to the organs. So this is the information. First point you have to know about the resting membrane potential. What is the meaning of resting membrane potential? Cell body, this is the axon. On the axon, more positive nets on the outside, extracellular fluid. This is the exoplasm. The cytoplasm present in the axon is called exoplasm. Here potassium is present and less potassium is there, so always they maintain the negative charge inside the membrane. So here positive outside, negative inside. This condition is called resting membrane potential. Resting membrane potential. So here more positive inside and more positive outside and more negative inside is present. And what is the actual length means? Here minus 40 millivoltage to the minus 90 millivolts. This is the charge present in this resting membrane potential. But what is the optimum? Common number is minus 70 is the millivolts. Minus 70 millivolts is the common resting membrane potential. So what is the meaning of resting? On the resting phase, there is no impulses are passing on, there is no information is passing to the brain. So the nerve axon is very much in the resting stage. That resting stage is in the form of signals. The outside is the positive, inside the membrane is the negative. They maintain, that is known as the resting membrane potential.